Rue has decided to trust me wholeheartedly. I know this because as soon as the anthem finishes, she snuggles up against me and falls asleep. Nor do I have two misgivings about her, as I give no particular precautions. If she wanted me dead, all she would have to do is disappear from that tree without pointing out the tracker-jacker nest. Needling me at the very back of my mind is the obvious. Both of us can't win these games, but since the odds are still against either of us surviving, I manage to ignore the thought. Besides, I'm distracted by my latest idea of the carriers and their supplies. Somehow, Rhea and I must find a way to destroy their food. I'm pretty sure feeding themselves would be a tremendous struggle. Traditionally, the courier's tribute strategy is to get hold of the food early on and work from there. The years when they have not protected it well. One year, a pack of hideous reptiles destroyed it. Another, a game maker's flood washed it away. And those are usually the years that tributes from other districts have won. That the couriers have been better fed growing up is actually their disadvantage, because they don't know how to be hungry, not the way Rue and I do. I'm too exhausted to begin any detailed plan tonight. My wounds recovering, my mind still a bit foggy from the venom, the warmth of Rue at my side. Her head cradled on my shoulder gives me a sense of security. I realize for the first time how very lowly I've been in the arena. How comforting the presence of another human being can be. I give in to my drowsiness, resolving that tomorrow the tables will turn. Tomorrow, it's the couriers who have to wash their backs. The boom of the cannon jolts me awake. The sky streaked with light, the birds already chattering. Rue perches in the branch across from me, her hands cupping something. We wait, listen for more shots, but there aren't any. Who do you think that was? I can't help thinking of Petra. I don't know, it could be any of the others. I guess only tonight. Who's left again? The boy from District 1, both tributes from 2, a boy from 3, Thresh and me, and you and Petra, says Rue. That's 8. Wait, the boy from 10, the one with a bad leg. He makes 9. There's someone else, but neither of us can remember who it is. I wonder how that last one dies, says Rue. No telling, but it's good for us. A death should hold the crowd for a bit. Maybe we have time to do something before the game makers decide things have moving too slowly. What's in your hands? Breakfast, says Rue. She holds them out, revealing 2 big eggs. What kind of those? Not sure. There's a marshy area over that way. Some kind of water bird, she says. It'll be nice to cook them, but neither of us wants to risk a fire. My guess is the tribute who died today has a victim of the couriers, which means they recovered enough to be back in the games. We each suck the insides of the egg, eat a rabbit leg and some berries. It's a good breakfast anywhere. Ready to do it? I say, pulling on my pack. Do what? Says Rue. By the time she bounces up, I can see she's up for whatever I propose. Today we take out the courier's food. I say, really? How? You can see the glint of excitement in her eyes. In this way, she exactly the opposite of Prim, for whom adventures are an ordeal. No idea. Come on, we'll find out a plan while we hunt, I say. We don't get much hunting done, though, because I'm too busy getting every scrap of information I can out of Rue about the courier's base. She's only been in to spy on them briefly, but she's observant. They have set up their camp beside the lake. Their supply stash is about 30 yards away. During the day, they've been leaving another tribute, the boy from District 3, to watch over the supplies. The boy from District 3? He's working with them? Yes, he stays at the camp full time. He got stung too when they drew the tracker-jackers in by the lake, says Rue. I guess they agreed to let him live if he acted as their guard. But he's not very big. What weapons does he have? I asked. Not much that I could see. A spear? He might be able to hold a few of us off with that, but Thresh could kill him easily, says Rue. And the food's just out in the open, I say. She nods. Something's not right about the whole setup. I know, but I couldn't tell what exactly, says Rue. Candace, even if you could get the food, how would you get rid of it? Burn it? Dump it in the lake? Soak it in fuel? poke Rue in the belly just like I'll pin. Eat it, she giggles. Don't worry, I think of something. Destroying things is much easier than making them. For a while, we dig roots, we gather berries and greens. We devise a strategy in hushed voices. I come to know Rue, the oldest of 6 kids, fiercely protective of her siblings, who give her rations to the younger ones, who forages in the meadows in a district where the peacemakers are far less obliging than ours. Rue, when you ask her what she loves most in the world, replies of all things, music. Music, I say. In other worlds, I rank music somewhere between harebins and rainbows in terms of usefulness. At least a rainbow gives you a tip about the weather. You have a lot of time for that. We sing at home, at work too. That's why I love your pen, she says, pointing to the mockingjay that I again forgot about. You have mockingjays? I asked. Oh yes, I have a few. They're my special friends. We can sing back and forth for hours. They carry messages for me, she says. What do you mean? I'm usually up highest, so I'm the first to see the flag that signals quitting time. It's a special little song that I do, says Rue. She opens her mouth and sings a little foreign note, run in a sweet, clear voice. And the mockingjay spread it around the orchard. That's how everybody knows to knock off, she continues. They can be dangerous, though, if they get near their nest, but you can't blame them for that. I unclasp the pin and hold it out to her. Here, you take it. It has much more meaning for you than me. Oh no, says Rue, closing her fingers back over the pin. I like to see it on you. That's how I decided I could touch you. Besides, I have this. She pulls a necklace woven out of some grass from her shirt. On it hangs a roughly carved wooden star. Or maybe it's a flower. It's a good luck charm. Well, it's worked so far, I say, pinning the mockingjay back on my shirt. Maybe you should just stick to that. By lunch, we have a plan. By early afternoon, we are poised to carry it out. I help Rue collect and place the wood for the first 2 campfires. The third, she'll have time for her own. We decide to meet afterward at the site where we are our first meal together. The stream would help guide me back to it. Before I leave, I make sure Rue's well stocked with food and matches. I even insist she take my sleeping bag in case it's not possible to be rendered by nightfall. What about you? Won't you be cool? She asks. Not if I pick up some bag down the lake. I say, stealing isn't illegal here, I say with a grin. At the last minute, Rue decides to teach me her mockingjay signal, the one she gives to indicate the day's work is done. It might not work, but if you hear the mockingjay singing it, you'll know I'm okay. Only I can't get back right away. Are there many mockingjays here? I ask. Haven't you seen them? They got nests everywhere, she says. I have to admit I haven't noticed. Okay then, if all goes according to plan, I'll see you for dinner, I say. Unexpectedly, Ruth throws her arm around me. I only hesitate a moment before I hug her back. You be careful, she says to me. You too, I say. I turn and head back to the stream, feeling somehow worried. About Rue being killed, about Rue not being killed, and 2 of us being left for last, not leaving Rue alone, and leaving Prim alone back home. No, Prim has my mother and Gail, and the baker who has promised she won't go hungry. Rue has only me. Only once I reach the stream, I have only to follow it downhill to a place I initially picked it up after the tracker-jacker attack. I have to be cautious as I move along the water though, because I find my thoughts preoccupied with unanswered questions, most of which concern Petra. The cannons that fired early this morning, did that signify his death? If so, how did he die? In the hands of the courier? And was that the revenge for letting me live? I struggle again to remember the moment over Glimmer's body, when he burst through the trees. But just the fact that he was sparkling leads me to doubt everything that happened. I must be moving very slowly yesterday because I reached a shallow stretch where it took my bath just a few hours. I stopped to replenish my water and add a layer of mud to my backpack. It seems to bent on reverting to orange no matter how many times I cover it. My proximity to the courier's camp sharpened my senses, and the closer I get to them, the more guarded I am, pausing frequently to listen for unnatural sounds, an arrow ready to be fitted in the string of the bow. I don't see any other tributes, but I do notice some of the things Rue has mentioned. Patches of sweet berries, a bush with the leaves that healed my stings, clusters of jacker nests in the vicinity of the tree I was trapped in, and here there, the black and white flash of the mockingjay wing on the branches high over my head. When I reached the tree with the abandoned nest at the foot, I paused a moment to gather my courage. Rue has given specific instructions of how to reach the best spying place near the lake from this point. Remember, I tell myself, you're the hunter now, not them. I get a firmer grasp on my bow and go on. I make it to the corpse Rue has told me about, and again have to admire her cleverness. It's right at the edge of the wood, but bushy foliage is so thick and low I can easily observe the courier camp without being spotted. Between us lies the flat expanse where the games began. There are 4 tributes, a boy from District 1, Kato, and the girl from District 2, with scrawny, ashen-skinned boy who must be from District 3. He made almost no impression on me during our time in the capital. I can remember almost nothing about him, not his costume, not his training score, not his interview. Even now, as he sits fiddling there with some plastic box, he's easily ignored in the presence of his large and domineering companions. But he must be some value or they wouldn't have bothered to let him live. Still, seeing him only adds to my sense of unease over why the couriers would possibly leave him as guard, why they have allowed him to live at all. All 4 tributes seem to still be recovering from the jacker attack. Even from there, I can see the large swollen lumps on their bodies. They must not have sense to remove all the stingers, or if they did, not know about the leaves that healed them. Apparently, whatever medicine they found in the canopia could have been ineffective. The canopia sits in its original position, but its insides have been picked clean. Most of the supplies, held in crates, burlap sacks, plastic pins, are piled neatly in a pyramid in what seems like a questionable distance from the camp. Others are sprinkled around the perimeter of the pyramid, almost mimicking the layer of supplies around the canopia at the onset of the games. The canopy of netting that, aside from discouraging birds, seemed to be useless, shelters the pyramid itself. The whole setup is completely perplexing. The distance, the netting, the presence of the boy of District 12. One thing's for sure. Destroying the supplies is not going to be as simple as it looks. Some other factor is at play here, and I'm better to stay put until I figure out what it is. My guess is the pyramid is a booby trap with some manner. I think of concealed pits, descending nets, a thread that, when broken, sends a poisonous dart into your heart. Really, the possibilities are endless. While I'm mulling over my options, I hear Kato shout out. He's pointing up to the woods, far beyond me, and without turning, I know that Root must have sent the first campfire. We'd make sure to gather green wood to make the smoke noticeable. The creators begin to arm themselves at once. An argument breaks out. It's loud enough for me to hear that it concerns whether or not the boy from District 3 should stay or accompany them. He's coming. We need him in the woods, and his job's done here anyway. No one can touch those supplies, says Kato. What about Lover Boy, says this boy from District 1. I keep telling you, forget about him. I know where I cut him. It's a miracle he hasn't bled to death yet. At any rate, he's no shape to raid us. So Peter is out in the woods, wounded badly, but I'm still in the dark on what motivated him to betray the couriers. Come on, says Kato. He thrusts a spear in the hands of the boy from District 3, and they head off into the direction of the campfire. The last thing I hear they enter the woods is Kato saying, when we find her, I'll kill her in my own way, and no one interferes. Somehow, I don't think he's talking about Rue. She didn't stop a nest of jackers on it. I stayed put for half an hour or so, trying to figure out what to do about the supplies. The one advantage I have with a bow and arrow is distance. I could send a flaming arrow into the pyramid easily enough, but I'm good enough shot to get it through these openings and nets. But there's no guarantee it would catch. Most likely, it's just burn itself out, and then what? I have achieved nothing. I've given them far too much information about myself. That I was here, that I was an accomplice, that I can use a bow and an arrow with accuracy. There's no alternative. I'm going to have to get in close, in fact, that I can't discover what exactly protects the supplies. In fact, I'm just about to reel myself when a movement catches my eye. Several hundred yards to my right, I see someone emerge from the woods. For a second, I think it's Rue, but then I recognize Fox's face. She's the one we couldn't remember this morning, creeping out onto the plain. When she decides it's safe, she runs to the pyramid with quick, small steps. Just before she reaches the circle of supplies that have littered around the pyramid, she stops, searching the ground, carefully places her feet on the spot, searching the ground, and then she begins to approach the pyramid with strange little hops, sometimes landing on one foot, teetering slightly, sometimes risking a few steps. At one point, she launches up into the air over the small bear and lands poised on her tiptoes, but she overshot slightly, and the momentum throws her forward. I hear her give a small squeal as her hands hit the ground, but nothing happens. In a moment, she's regained her feet and continues until she has reached the bulk of supplies. So, I'm right about booby trap, but it's clearly more complex than I had imagined. I was right about the girl too. How Willie she had discovered this path into the food to be able to replicate so neatly. She feels her pack, take a few items from the variety of containers, crackers from the crate, a handful of apples from the burlap sack, their hands suspended in the rope off the side of the bin. But only a handful from each, not enough to tip off that food is missing. Not enough to cause suspicion. And then she's doing her odd little dance back to the circle and scampers in the woods again, safe and sound. I know I'm grinding my teeth in frustration. Fox's face has confirmed what I already guessed. But was some kind of trap that late requires such dexterity, has so many trigger points? Why does she squeal so as her hands make contact with the earth? You'd have thought, though slowly it begins to dawn on me, you'd have thought the very ground was going to explode. It's mine, I whisper. That explains everything. The creators' willingness to leave their supplies. Fox Ace's reaction. The involvement with the boy from District 3, where they have factories, where they television and automatic explosions. But where did he get them? In the supplies? That's not some sort of weapons game makers usually provide, given that they like to see their tributes draw blood personally. I slip out of the bushes and cross one of the round metal plates that lifted the tributes into the arena. The ground around it has been dug up and patted back down. The landmines are disabled after 60 seconds. We sit on the plate, but the boy from District 3 must have managed to reactivate them. I've never seen anyone in the games do that. I bet it came as a shock even to the game makers. Well, hooray for the boys from District 3 for putting one over on them, but what am I supposed to do now? Obviously, I can't go strolling into that mess without blowing myself sky high. As for sending it into the burning arrow, that's more laughable than ever. The mines are set off by pressure, if it doesn't have a lot either. One year, a girl dropped her token, a small wooden ball, while she was at her plate and literally had to scrape bits of her from off the ground. My arm's pretty good. I might be able to chuck some rocks in there and set off. What? Maybe one mine? That could start a chain reaction. Or could it? Would the boy from District 3 have placed the mines in such a way that a single mine could not disturb the others, thereby protecting the supplies but ensuring the death of the invader? Even if I blew up one mine, I'd draw the couriers back down on me for sure. And anyway, what am I thinking? There's that net, clear strength to defect any attack. Besides, what I already need is to throw out 30 rocks in there at once, setting off a big chain reaction, demolishing the whole lot. I glance back in the woods. The smoke from Rue's fire is wafting toward the sky. By now, the couriers have begun to suspect it was some sort of trick. Time is running out. There's a solution for this. I know there is, but if I can only focus hard enough. I stare at the pyramid, the bins, the crates, too heavy to topple over with an arrow. Maybe one contains oil. That burning arrow idea is reviving when I realize I could end up losing all 12 of my arrows if not get a direct hit of the oil bin, since I just guessing. I generally think of trying to recreate Foxface's trip to the pyramid in hopes of finding a new means of destruction when my eyes light up the burlap bag of apples. I could sever the rope with one shot. Didn't I do as much in the training center? It's a big bat, but it still might be good for one explosion. If only I could free the apples themselves. I know what to do. I move into the range and give myself 3 arrows to get the job done. I place my feet carefully, block out the rest of the world as I take meticulous aim. The first arrow tears to the side of the back, near the top, leaving a split in the burlap. The second widens at the gaping hole. I can see the first apple teetering when I let the third arrow go, catching the torn flap of the burlap bag and ripping it from the back. For a moment, everything seems frozen in time. Then the apple spills to the ground and are blown backward into the air.